Peace, peace, peace. Welcome to another Urban X TV exclusive interview with Brother Oba, High Priest. Can I call you a High Priest?
No, just a priest.
Just a priest. Again, we thank you for your support. Subscribe to what it is that we do. We're going to call this one, we'll call it Urban Voodoo, Myths, Misconceptions, yada, yada, yada. And I'm here with a priest we're going to walk through step by step. We did one before, but I don't think it's up anymore on Brother Rich's site. I didn't see it. I'm not really sure. So we'll spend the first 15, 20 minutes just kind of reintroducing people to who you are and what it is that you do.
Okay. I come from an African-American family that has the luxury of having exclusivity to being one of the very first 3 to 4 generational family involved in this tradition. This tradition met the shores of the United States in 1959. And after 1959, my family got involved maybe about 1968. Okay. So from 59 to 68, it was a very small community of people. So it was pretty much like 2 degrees of separation. Everybody knew everybody that was involved in all of this.
Okay.
As of 2017, it has become quite popular. And so a lot of people have converted into the tradition, and I have the luxury of being 3rd generation. So this is second nature to me. So a lot of stuff that people are just now coming to grips with or coming to enlightenment with, I was born under these circumstances and this knowledge.
Okay.
In 2005, I completed my initiation. I was initiated to Shango in Havana, Cuba, by a woman by the name of Martiga Sanchez, a very notable priest from the early parts of the tradition in this country. My second godmother still lives in Havana. I just came from Havana in September. I was there to see her. I keep in contact with her now. So yeah, I've been in this tradition my whole life. And
when you say tradition, is it a name to it? Is it a way of life?
Okay.
For those who, because we
the misnomers are, you're going to hear people refer to it as Santeria, which doesn't exist.
Okay.
You're going to hear people refer to it themselves as Yoruba priests. I don't agree with that.
Okay.
The name that is that everyone consciously and collectively responds to is Lukumi.
Lukumi.
Lukumi is the name of the tradition. That is a phrase that refers to the concept of the people of that sub-Saharan Africa. There's a history in what is present day Nigeria that deals with these different tribes, and the most I would say populous of all the tribes was the Yoruba, but they weren't Yoruba at the time. At the time, they didn't have a label for themselves, so they were labeled based on the different cities that they came from. Now, the Lukumi is supposed to be the name of an ancient kingdom that predates what is present day the Yoruba empire ethnicity. Okay. So this tradition came across the Niger River from the people of what is present day Nupe. Okay. These are all what they call Kwa speaking people. They speak a general dialect that they can all decipher. The people in Nupe that crossed over the Niger River and brought influence were referred to as the Lukumi. When these same people were persecuted through what is known as the transatlantic slave trade and the Ma'afa, these people, when they would see their brethren in the new land, they would refer to them as Lukumi, meaning that they crossed the water.
Crossed the water,
right?
Absolutely.
So the people that call themselves Yoruba is, I find it to be incorrect because Yoruba refers to an ethnicity. So there are people that are Yoruba that do not involve themselves in any parts of Orisha traditions.
So most of the time when we hear Yoruba, we think you're dealing with the traditions.
Yeah,
that's an ethnicity.
That's an ethnicity of one of many in Nigeria. There's the Igbo, the Ijaw, the Hausa. There's different ethnic groups there. So when people say, "Oh, I'm a Yoruba priest," when you say that to a Nigerian, they laugh at you. They're like, "Oh, really? So what state you from?" Right? Because they have different states: Oyo State, Ogun State, Oshogbo State. So if you just say, "Oh, I'm a Yoruba priest," they look at you like, "Oh, okay." So I don't use that epithet. That is one that has been used in the last 25 years. People have, because of their association to Africa or trying to associate themselves to Africa, they say, "Oh, I'm Yoruba."
Okay.
But if you were to go to Cuba, they would refer to themselves as Lukumi, generally, right? Only in the last 20 years have they even had access to the word Yoruba. Because during the slave trade, the word Yoruba wasn't used until 1840.
Okay.
And it was used as a means to identify a group of people who shared the same culture. And this was done because the Christian missionaries needed a way to translate the Bible into a dialect
That they could.
that they could convert the people to. So at this time, Oyo was the reigning cosmopolitan city of the Yoruba territories. Their dialect became known as what is today present-day Yoruba proper. But from different province to province, the people have a different dialect. So the dialect that they speak in the diaspora is a culmination of the dialects of prior to this generalization of it being Oyo.
Okay.
Okay. So that if you speak the traditional religious language that I speak to a Yoruba person, they'll say it sounds very archaic to them. It's very "where art thou" to them.
Okay, got you. Very
Because
proper, like.
exactly, because the language, as all languages, it continues to expound.
Absolutely.
And so their sense of Yoruba is different than what we've retained in the diaspora, which was mainly only kept to ritual implications, because that was the only time that they were allowed to use the language. So they maintained a lot of the language based on its efficacy to the tradition and to the ritual. Outside of that, they didn't. What they speak in Cuba is really a Creole. If you took a Puerto Rican, he would not know what they were talking about half the time, because some of the words that they use have Congo origins. They have Yoruba origins. They have Ijesa origins. So if you took somebody and you say, "Oh, well, he's Colombian, he should be understanding," to the average Cuban person, yeah, but if you were to go into one of the houses where people are very religious with the African tradition, they start talking. If you're Spanish, you don't know what they're talking about, because they're using inflections from different cultural perspectives that they have. So when people get into, well, I don't deal with the Cuban stuff, that's Spanish, that's really an ignorant statement.
Okay, I'm going to stop you right there because you mentioned that Santeria doesn't exist.
Doesn't exist.
So a lot of our Spanish brothers and sisters, even I say, "Oh, they practice that Santeria shit,"
Right?
Which is, just probably ignorance on everybody's part. But clarify, what do you mean that doesn't exist, or are they using a different name?
Okay,
by what it is that their traditions.
What happens is, in history, when people don't read, and when information is passed on orally, sometimes you get sound bites. So the general conversation is that the slaves had to hide their tradition behind the saints in order to maintain the traditions. That's a sound bite and a very broad stroke to the situation.
Okay.
During the early parts of the 20th century in Cuba, there was a persecution for anything African. Historically, what transpired in Haiti created a fervor for the white people about any black nation. So Cuba was 85 to 90% black.
What happened in Haiti?
Well, in Haiti,
I know. But
but for those that don't know, in Haiti, due to the language and their tradition, Boukman Dada incited the people to insurrect against the French and defeat them and create the first black state. Now, this is what we're told.
Right.
Okay. Historically, if you go back further, you'll find out in Suriname there were black states already in Suriname.
Okay.
This is where the people in Brazil, the Quilombos, were actually flourishing. They weren't flourishing in Brazil. They were actually flourishing in parts of Suriname.
Okay.
Because Suriname is a part of the rainforest that we know as the Amazon. It's part of the most densest parts are part of Suriname. So where we get a broad stroke about the concept of how people propagated the tradition. So, during the early parts of the 20th century, they were afraid that Cuba would turn into another Haiti. So the first thing that they did was they sent people from penal colonies there. All of the Scottish and Irish who had been in dungeons, they sent them to Cuba to lighten up the skin tone of the country.
Interesting.
Okay, that's the first thing they did, which is the reason why most people don't really understand that when Fidel had the Mario boat lift and sent the criminally insane and all of the sick people, he was doing it as a revenge for what was done to Cuba in the early colonial days.
Got you.
Okay? Most people are not aware of that. So after the 10-year war, Cuba gets their independence. They sent these white people there, and there's these landowners, and they have money, and so they start to have this feel the way about these African traditions because it's freely with these Africans. They're just doing it. So there's a story that talks about this a landowner's daughter was murdered, chopped up, and thrown in a well. And the overseer, who might have been, I don't want to definitively say whether he was Irish or Scottish, but he was European, he blamed it on the slaves. He says, oh, it's the Ñáñigos, which is another tradition that comes out of what is present-day Cameroon. So he said he blamed it on the Ñáñigos and their magic. So the newspapers made this big to-do about brujeria, which is the word in Spanish for magic, brujeria. A slave was conducting a service one day, a religious service, for the Orisha Shango. And on his altar, he had a statue of Santa Barbara. And some of his neighbors went and got the police, and the police came to confiscate his religious articles. They confiscated his stuff. When he went to court, he made his plea that he was not into fetishism. He just was still remembering his patriarchal tradition of where he came from, but they had to take note that Santa Barbara was on this altar. And so in the newspaper the next day after he was exonerated, the writers put together the word saint and brujeria and came up with Santeria. Okay, this is an epithet. This is not what they called themselves. So in light of that, the Africans in Cuba would now use instead of their native language in order to identify one another. In Spanish, the common greeting is bendición, and the person will say yo que bendiga, right? Benediction, and I give it to God. The Africans changed it to, they would say bendición, and if you was a part of them, they say santo. No, my benediction is to the saints. And that lets you know if they were down with the get down. Gotcha. Right? Okay. So the word Santeria became used because when they started to look at what to identify this stuff, they looked at the newspapers, and the newspapers, they give you these code words like ground zero. It wasn't ground zero on the day of 9/11, but after somebody shows up with a mic and they're like, oh, this is ground zero, that becomes the name.
Absolutely.
So and when you're in Cuba, you will very rarely hear people refer to them as saints. They will refer to them as the Orisha. Okay, they understand the implications of their black culture. Cuba is a very strange place due to the fact that it's not a utopia, but it's the closest thing to it. Meaning that the skin color is so acceptable that you may see a woman who's white and she could pass for Polish or Irish or Italian, and she'll be walking down the street holding the hand of a little black baby. And I'm talking about a black baby, not brown skin. I'm talking about black, what they call prieta, right? And she'll be holding, and that may be her granddaughter or her grandson. And his color, his color doesn't mean anything to her, right? So that you have people there that'll be white as these walls, and they'll be like, oh, but my abuela is a negra, right? So for them, the color is more of a description than a class. Okay. Okay, and so they are very naive to the racism that we
deal with and encounter
They
every
have
day.
no idea of it. Because for them, it's a class thing. If you work or if you know somebody, you get better stuff. It's not because you're white.
Right.
It's not because you don't do this African stuff. You just happen to have a hookup, right? So they deal with poverty on different levels. There's the real poor. There's coming up poor, and then there's you poor, but you got a little something.
You got a few trinkets,
Right.
something, a little something, something.
And so they're really naive to the concept that we understand in terms of, oh, that dude is white. We can't let him in here. Now, on certain things, they will exact their pride of being African to say, yeah, we're about to do some real African stuff, and you just don't really fit the bill.
Got you.
You know what I mean? And
This is
and
where you
won't be,
exit off.
It won't be disrespectful due to.
It's nothing personal.
Yeah,
it's just-
I'll gladly tap out. You know what I mean? I don't got the color to be really sitting there doing that. So the Santeria thing is the biggest insult. Oh, you practice Santeria? Nah, I don't even respond to that
got you.
because there's no such thing.
Got you. So let's go back just a little bit. The importance of magic, or what we call our ritual work. How important it is it for us in this country? Because we've lost our way. We everybody's doing a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And in this time in particular, just kind of dial back a little bit and talk about the importance of us understanding the spirit world, that realm, and how it affects us every day. And because a lot of people, when they hear the title of this lecture, oh, urban voodoo, oh, no, you know what I mean? And I'm only using that to classify, that we're talking to something on another realm. That probably ain't even the right term in itself. So, what do you say to those who are watching this video who are skeptical, who are,
Well, the thing is this. When we look back at, there's simple questions that one has to ask themselves. And I'm not attacking Christianity or any other religion in that form, but one must look at themselves and say to themselves, okay, you tell me that the white man brought me Jesus Christ, and I was in Africa, and I was a savage, and all that. Okay. And so, what was I doing before he brought me Jesus Christ? Okay. So now, if anybody that's watching this at this point has already understood that we created civilization as you know it. So how did we create civilization with idol worship and devil worship? Like, you have to put yourself in a real conscious mind of understanding we were taken from our culture. And this is one of the things that was stripped from us. Jesus Christ is a byproduct of our oppression. So if you can just look back and say, well, what were my people doing before they were brought over here on ships? That should settle you.
I ask that, and that's the question I pose all the time to, individuals and things.
Well,
Absolutely.
and then you look at, it's interesting because people will say, well, I don't believe in ghosts and all that, but then you go see Annabelle or one of these scary movies and you watch this and you believe that this dog got possessed by the spirit. And so there's a part of you that acknowledges this, but you don't want to acknowledge it because it means that you have to now be responsible. Right? So that calamity and tragedy and these things don't just find you. Right? It's not just by happenstance. And people, it's real easy to go and put your money in the basket and have the man say a prayer and then leave the building with a better outlook. And you don't really have to look your problems dead on. You don't have to look at what part you play in your demise or in your evolution of things. And so when it's a society that it says that you're an individual, right? But nothing that you do bears any consequences, right?
Right.
So you're an individual and you're not a part of anything. And so I was having a conversation with one of my godsons, and we were talking about the fact that human beings, the arrogance of human beings. So you believe that you're smarter than an insect, but a bee knows what he came here to do.
Absolutely. He knows his purpose.
Yeah, and he cooperates with his community and gets wonderful things done. They make beehives that marvelous building, right? And so what is it that So what happens is people like to be. It's a lazy way of thinking. If I put it on Jesus, if I put it on the jinn or Satan, then I'm not responsible for it, and I don't have to do the work. And these traditions put you to the test because they make you work. So the idea that you say that that spirits aren't real, but we've all had our own personal experiences with death when people have left, and people have had miracles when information was bestowed upon you by way of a dream or audiovoyant or clairvoyant. You know, somebody was looking for some papers for their grandfather's will or whatever, and grandma had a dream and they in this box. That's not by coincidence.
Right.
This is a real thing. So if you can believe that your cell phone, the radio, these things work, and you hear them through waves that you can't see, you can't touch, you can't smell, you can't detect them, but you do acknowledge that they exist. This is the same thing about energy. So we're in a state now where people talk about, oh, your energy ain't right. Right, okay. So people say that, but they haven't been trained to see energy, to feel it. They have no compass for it, right?
Right.
So they'll use these terms, but if I tell you that there's a bad spirit in your closet, oh, no, I ain't into all of that. Because now you're responsible for it.
Right.
Right?
And
now
you have to address it.
You have to address it. You can't just leave it in the closet, because now every time you open the closet and the bowling ball fall on your head, you know why.
Right.
Right? And so people don't like that because they like to be without any responsibility.
I had a story. My oldest son's mom's, the one who's filming, Malcolm, her grandfather died, right? And they just gave her the ashes. You know, her father gave her the ashes. She just stuck them up in the closet. You know, fuck it. You know what I'm saying? And one day, the whole closet started shaking. Boom, 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 boom. And she was like, what the fuck? And she opened the closet and his ashes fell. And she was like, she was wilding. She's like, I gotta get my grandfather. This has gotta be my grandfather telling me, I don't want to be in the fucking closet. Like, do something with me.
Absolutely.
Don't leave me in the fucking closet.
Absolutely.
So she got on her work. She didn't, you know, and made sure, I forget what she did with his ashes, but she got them out the closet, and she was really, really spooked. I say that to say this happens all the time to people if they pay close attention.
Well, to piggyback off what you're talking about, my own father. My father passed away. His brother was staying in his loft. And I was 19. I wasn't prepared to deal with all of that. I just had figured that there were adults around and they would take care of stuff. So my father's wishes were to be cremated. And I just assumed they cremated him and they taken care of the ashes. A year after my father passes away, my uncle's going through some tribulations. I decided, well, listen, if I'm paying for all this stuff, I'm moving. Anyway, make a long story short, the house is in disarray. My father was a contractor, so there's always tools and supplies around, right? So I'm having this dream every night. And every night my father's walking into the loft and he's cursing me out. What the fuck is going on? And all the furniture is upside down on the ceiling. So I say to my uncle one day, I said, you know, I keep having this dream. So my uncle said, well, why don't you clean the fucking place up? Right? Oh, okay, makes sense. He's like, your father wasn't that kind of dude, so I start to clean up. Right where I was sleeping at, on the couch in my father's living room, is a box. And because my father's a contractor, I assume it might be cement or something. So I go in the box. And when I pull out the box, the papers fall out. Gomez Funeral Home. Oh shit, this is my father. So where I'm laying my head, I'm laying on the couch and my head is laying here, my feet there, and the box is on the other side of the couch, or the armrest. And my father's talking to me, yo, get me the hell out this box.
Absolutely,
right?
Absolutely.
And so you can't deny that. You know, that's like saying that deja vu isn't real.
Right.
Everybody's had a bit of experience. Some people haven't. They've experienced other things. So it's not uncommon, or it's not unfathomable that a radio wave from 1952 is floating around in space somewhere, and the spaceship comes along and hears it. Your soul is like that radio wave. It didn't die, it just moved on.
One more story. My mother was very clear about what I need to do when she passes away.
Mm-hmm.
She said, you don't roll my body in no church at all. She said, I don't get down like that. She said, I'm one with my creator, whatever her, source was. But she said, then I want you to party like you've never partied before. She said, have a celebration. Huge. She said, go to the church, wear all white. She said, I don't want nobody dressed in black, all white.
Mm-hmm.
So I wear all white. Then we party. And I'm going to tell you, I can't ever remember partying this hard, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then she said, listen, you're going to take my ashes, right? Because I want to be cremated. She said, you're going to drive, and when you get between, because she lived half her life in New York and half in North Carolina.
Okay.
There's something called the Chesapeake Bay.
Absolutely.
Big bridge.
Longest bridge.
Longest bridge ever,
Yeah.
for miles and miles. She said, when you get to that point, you're going to take out my ashes. And you're going to dump them in the water, right? So, here we go. It's the day that I got the ashes. It's pouring down, raining. I'm like, oh shit, I got these ashes. I gotta dump these ashes. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I don't give a fuck if I gotta dump them out the window. The cops might think I'm getting rid of kilos of coke. I have to do this.
Yeah.
Strange thing. The skies clear up. Ain't a cloud in the sky now. You know what I'm saying? I get out the car. I'm on the Chesapeake Bay. My uncle was in the Navy for years. He said, let me tell you something. When you open that bag of ashes and ain't no buildings and nothing around, he said, that shit go all in your eyes.
Absolutely.
That's not what happened. I opened up this bag. Her ashes shot out in a straight line. As far as my eye could see, my aunt and my sister jumped back. Oh, shit. You know what I mean? I called on the ancestors, this, that, and that. She was free.
Absolutely.
Then we jumped back on the Chesapeake Bay. It's 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. Broad daylight. I turned the radio down. I tell my sister and my aunt, look in front of you and look behind you. There wasn't another car on the entire bridge as far as we can see in front of us and as far as we can see behind us. On our side, the other side, cars. So I had already known. Small confirmations. And, I have a whole history of it because my grandmother was in the science, you know what I mean? And she would use me as a conduit, so to speak, to talk to entities, and I saw them with my own eyes.
Well, see, that's the thing, though.
And I say that to say I grew up aware of it and suppressed it.
Well, that's the thing. Usually, everybody that comes from the South, this new generation are not like us. We come from a generation where at least in your lifetime before you reach 16, you had been to the South 5 to 6 times. At least 5 or 6 summers. Go down south, see the people down there, right? And you're gonna always see them do some strange shit. And everybody that has had the luxury of going down there, I don't care if they were stark Christians, sat in the front pew, they had some shit in their house that was some juju shit. Some chicken foot, some fucking horseshoe over the door, some little bag, some marbles by the corner. Everybody had that in their house. Even down to when you see the spoon and the fork.
On the wall.
Spoon
Yeah,
and fork. That's all old African shit. Now what happened is the articulation of it in the South became forgotten. So it became, don't ask me what I'm doing, because I don't know what I'm doing, but this is what we do.
Got you.
And so watch night, that's pure ancestral worship. Black eyed peas with the greens and all that. That's pure ancestral worship. That is some of the stew that we make actually for the ancestors in these traditions. So this is stuff that the knowledge has been spread out, but it just doesn't have there's no direction to it. So when you see somebody walk in the door in the South and they come in through the front door, they have to wipe their feet at the door. That's a salute to Legba. These are just normal things that black people did, and
all
it
the
just
time,
becomes,
and it just becomes second nature.
Second nature, and there's no conversation for it. So now, that with the fact that you're not winning with Jesus, you're not winning. You asking a dude that's, like I've said this many times, dude is stapled to a cross. He can't scratch his nuts nor his nose, and you asking him for help.
Absolutely.
Symbolically, that has to have the effects that it has on your psychology we can have no idea what that means. That's like you telling me right now, yo, I'm homeless. I'll be like, all right, come on, Doc. I got to pay my rent. I'm like, all right, come on, we're gonna go outside. I take you to the corner store and I find a bum and I tell the bum, look, Black Dot is homeless. He'd be like, well, that's nice.
And
can I get a quarter?
Right.
So you're on the floor, you're on one knee, and you asking the man that got a crown of thorns, he bleeding from inside, and he got nails in his hands and his feet, and he can't scratch his nose, and you telling him, yo, help me. He like, why don't you get that hammer and take these nails out my hand?
Absolutely.
Right? And so this is the implications of what the symbolism that they're showing us. They're showing us that you fucked. Because you asking a motherfucker that can't help himself for help.
Yeah, and my whole breakdown of Jesus, and I wrote it in my book, I said, listen, if I make you work 16 to 18 hours a day, busting your ass in a cotton field, sugar cane, but for the one day I tell you, you can come and relax on a Sunday and listen to us give you this gospel. Thank you, Jesus.
Absolutely.
So it literally meant thank you. I don't know what the fuck's going on, but we fucking with this little white dude on this cross.
Because he gave me a free day off.
Because he gave me a free day off.
I get to eat some chicken.
I get to eat some chicken and hear his stories. Long as I ain't got to go out in that field and work, I'm fucking with Jesus.
Of course.
And that's when, and then it just spewed into something else. Even after we so-called became physically free, we still attached to.
Well, see, this is what I mean
he
about
became
the
a Sunday savior in a sense, in the literal sense.
Well, see, this is the other part. Again, with the sound bites, we've been told that Africans converted, they got whipped. They said, no more Kunta, I'm Toby. But it ain't until after Reconstruction that black folks start joining the Christian church. See, after Reconstruction, the white boys realized that they had just freed up all of the labor. They made it a free market and all the labor's free, right? So we got to find another way to keep these niggas from getting money. So they said, well, if you want to get money and get a job, you got to have papers. There ain't no slaves had no papers. They had no birthdays. They didn't even know when they was born. So the only other means of identification, which are still legal to this day, is your baptism papers.
It's your baptism papers, absolutely
shit ain't
correct.
got no picture on it or nothing. But because some dude is a reverend and he said that you got baptized and this is the name you gave him, they will use that at the passport.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay? And so that's when Africans started to leave the roots and their traditional stuff because they had to get a job. And so when it comes to that, if your creed don't provide no food for you, then you're going to switch sides.
Let's talk about that because, off camera, we were talking about the importance of creed and the importance of, if what you talking ain't taking care of my basic needs, then I got a problem with that.
Absolutely.
And I used to be a 5%er. I still understand the lessons fully. And I used to go up on sisters trying to get me a earth. You know what I'm saying? A little earth. My pops was 5%. His name was Tumar, and my mother was his moon. That's how far she went back. She wasn't even the earth, she was the moon.
Right.
And, and chicks would tell me, yo, brother, divine intelligent, that's my name. That shit sound beautiful. How is that shit gonna help me pay my rent and my bills? And I used to go, I have to get back to you on that because I haven't advanced in the lessons that, but sisters want tangible and our people want tangible. And if they're hungry, and we're going to translate that to the streets. When a young nigga see the hustlers moving and the hustlers got money, I'm seeing results.
Well, that's the thing, even with the church. So with the church, the reverend is fresh. Just got gold rings on. So I'm going to go talk some Jesus, right?
Right.
So the thing is, black people as a whole in the diaspora, and mainly in the United States, suffer from the concept that we don't share the same creed. And because we don't share the same creed, we don't share the same morals, and we don't spend the money together, and we don't eat together, right? And the first example, like we were talking about, is the Catholic Church. They own more property than anybody else on the planet. Wherever there's a Catholic Church, that is sovereign land. You can't go up in there with no guns and do nothing to them, right? So the Catholic Church has a Catholic school. They're going to teach your babies. They're going to instill your babies with their philosophy, right? And the Catholic Church has Catholic hospitals, and then they have Catholic libraries, and they have senior citizen centers, and they have soup kitchens. It's all under the Catholicism. Then when you look at the Judaic tradition, they have the yeshiva school. The yeshiva school, they have Jewish hospitals.
Their own ambulance services.
Right. So when you share the same creed, you are now forced to spend your money amongst the people who share the same creed as you. So this is why we have Williamsburg and Crown Heights, where the Jews live at. They live amongst each other, they buy from each other, they all share the same creed. So that if I tell you, look, I wasn't able to pay my rent because my sister got sick, and you gotta let me sleep on your floor because we share the same God. Okay. So this idea, I'm not telling people everybody needs to go and run and get initiated into something, but I'm saying begin to plant the seeds for the next generations to understand that our traditions are based on our interactions with God, right? From a very personal level. And so we have to now put down the idea of put 5% into a philosophy, not a religion. It's a philosophy, right? If you are a young man without a father and you need confidence, the 5% lessons help build you up. That's a philosophy. The same way that the Asian says that Buddhism is not a religion, it's a philosophy. It's a way of thinking, right? But I'm talking about my interaction with God. And so when we talk about killing chickens and all of this sacrifice stuff, this is what our ancestors were doing. This is what the white boy does. When the Jews on Eastern Parkway for Yom Kippur, they be swinging them chickens around their heads and they killing them by the truckloads, right? You don't call that witchcraft, do you?
Right.
Oh, no, they Jews.
Right.
Okay, so let's put all of this into perspective. Now, when we're talking about a creed, we're talking about once you have your religious institution, and this goes even for my tradition, because they haven't established this yet. So that at the end of the day, when I go and initiate someone, there are things that have to be purchased that I'm purchasing outside of my community. So when we do an initiation, animals have to be bought. I buy the animals usually from a Muslim guy, right? We have to
have their own creed.
Who have their own creed.
Absolutely.
Who looks at me as if I'm blasphemous, right?
Right.
Okay, I gotta buy material like cloth. I go buy that, and Jews usually run that, right? When I go get the herbs, that's the only part that we still have some sort of hold on. But again, it's usually somebody far away from me. So it's not in New York. I gotta send for somebody in Miami or California to send me these herbs. The pieces, as of right now, the intricate motifs, they're made in China right now. Right? Now, in the beginnings of this tradition, when I was a kid, all of that stuff was made by the people that were in the tradition.
Was that because the tradition hadn't spread as far as it had spread now? Or is it just you understood the importance that...
They were double. It's a double entendre. There's a famous botanica that used to be on 112th and Lexington. It was called Congo Real. Okay? And Congo Real, there was an old man, and he was a priest, and he was Cuban, and he would act like he didn't speak no English. And you had to qualify yourself to come in there and buy something from him. Okay? But after time, commercialism gets involved.
Absolutely.
And, people are...
Yes.
Sometimes people have a need to legitimize themselves to their peers. And so to make it general, someone probably legitimized itself to some person that wasn't involved. Oh, and this is what we do. And that person came along and saw the economic value in it and was like, oh, I'm going to open up one too. So that for the next... After Congo Real was closed, the botanicas that that came afterwards, there were people that didn't have anything to do with the tradition. So you go in there, you ask them for something, they don't know what you're talking about. Because they're there for the money.
Right. They did is just move candles and...
Absolutely. Whereas the old man, he would be like, I don't have it, but give me a couple of days and let me speak to your godparents so that I could tell them to postpone the ceremony because you really need this.
Absolutely.
Right? Because he understood the efficacy of the item or whatever it was that we were looking for. So today it's become big business. You know, there's people, they draw pictures and they know pictures of Oshun and they got calendars and all that, and these people don't serve that philosophy or that mentality. They're not involved. They're just there for a buck. So it's become very trendy now. So you see Beyonce and Oshun.
Right. Yeah.
And, you know, a couple people, you see 21 Savage in them, and they got on beads and all that. But they're not the spokesman. They're not the people who are really doing it. And the people who are propagating to them are not the people that are really doing it.
Okay, are there consequences for that?
Absolutely.
If you're portraying something that you're not, or you're acting like you are an authority, or you've walked the walk and you didn't.
Of course.
Are there consequences?
I'll give you an example.
That's like me walking around calling myself
I'll give you an example.
God, and I ain't studying my lessons.
There's a famous woman, I won't put her name out there, right? She's a priest. She writes books. She's, you know, close to Oprah.
Okay.
And word is, so in these traditions, you cannot initiate your children. Like as a priest, I can't give my religious articles to my children.
Why is that?
Because they say you can't give birth twice.
Oh, okay.
Right? And so
someone else has to do that.
Someone else has to do it because the realization of things isn't manifest through the parents. Like, for instance, so if my son is 13 and his room is dirty and all of that, and I give him a reading and I say, it says your room is dirty, you need to clean it up, he's not going to take that from me because he thinks I'm just inflicting my will upon him.
Absolutely.
But if I take him to go see Chris, and Chris hasn't been to the house in some time since he was 11, he don't know how his room is, and you know, he sit down and I'm sitting there and I haven't said anything to Chris, and then he starts thinking, he says, oh, it says you got to clean up your room. He look at me, he look at Chris, he go, oh snap, there's something else watching me besides my father and my mother. Right? So this woman went ahead and initiated her own daughter. And subsequently, the young woman is not alive. Okay. Now, I say that not as to be antagonistic, but this is the hazards of ego, because her reasoning was that there was no other religious effigies worthy to go upon her daughter but her own. Now she knew, she had been given the understanding that this was not the way to go, but people feel like they can change things because sometimes people involve themselves into things that they truly don't respect. Right? And so she didn't truly respect it. It was convenient, and she figured, well, it's probably not really going to be like that. Who's really watching? And so all of the people who participated in that, who knew it was wrong, they received some type of, I don't want to say punishment, but some type of backlash from that. Okay? And so there is, but the thing is, nobody's watching. So like, someone does something, we don't have the time to sit there and watch and wait for the other shoe to drop. We just keep it moving. And if it comes up and they say, oh, you know, this happened to such and such, you say, oh. And you don't say, oh, it was because this, and this. You just say, oh, okay. Because I'm not here to judge. So because I'm not here to judge, I have no interest in your folly.
Absolutely.
If it ain't in front of my road, that's for your cross to bear. But there are implications that there are phenomena that have happened where people have done things. I give you a story that an old timer gave me. He said when he was in Cuba, he knew a young woman, and she had some issues, and it was because they didn't initiate people just based off of just initiating. You had to be called because it's a gift and a curse. You're sacrificing some of your life for this deity to come through you.
Okay.
For you to live cooperatively with this deity. And so the young woman had some issues, and she may have been reluctant, but she got initiated. And she was told to never cross train tracks ever, unless she was on a train. To never cross the train tracks directly. And they said that, you know, she was a young girl, so she really didn't understand the implications of what it meant. And supposedly, she was crossing over to the tracks to go see a friend of hers. After kind of heeding the advice, she said, I'm going to go across the track. And her skirt got caught in the track when it changed. And she got hit by the train. And so what happens is, it's not so much that there's a punishment. When one is initiated the what we call the ita, which is the life reading, it tells you all of the variables which can contribute to your death.
Doesn't tell you the actual path of your death per se.
No, because destiny is always changing and variables are always changing.
Okay.
So they telling you these are the possibilities. So they'll say something like, don't look through holes, or don't stick your hand in holes. Person be like, I don't know, okay. And one day the person's doorbell ring, they open up their peephole, and the dude shoot through the peephole. Right? They're saying that through this manifestation, you can meet death by some way. Now, like I tell a lot of people clients that come to see me, we can't stop it from raining, but I could tell you go get your umbrella.
Absolutely. Great analogy. Great analogy.
Right? So it's not about changing destinies. It's about having the foresight, like a forecast. If I know that it's going to be rainy today, then I'm not going to put on my suede shoes.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Right, right.
And so I can be prepared. And so we're not really about cure, we're about prevention. You know, when you feel a glitch in your aura, you know something's not right. You know your day-to-day things swing a certain way. And when you notice that for the past week, things have been off, it is your responsibility to say, I'm going to seek the diviner. I don't know, something's not right. So now you call, hey, listen, can I get an appointment? Yeah, come on this day, right? Now, just because you said you're going on this day, all of the negative forces are trying to stop you from getting there, right?
Right, right.
And so once you make that commitment, you have to know that you have to push harder. And so when you push harder, when you get there, he may say, listen, at your job, there's problems. Prepare. Do this, that, and the third. Chris will tell you, he was told, listen, your job is about to close on you. You about to move somewhere. He was sitting there looking at the mirror like, what is he talking about? He got back, and they was like, the jail be shutting this down. And everybody else, you better figure out where you, so now he was able to find a space when everybody else was resistant to it.
Right, absolutely.
And so now he's good. That's called prevention, right? It's not, I'm going to do some spell and I'm going to change you from a pumpkin into a
Well, what about the
BMW?
people who believe that? Like, you know, they come to you with a bag of money and like, listen, or, you know, you was telling me the story about Lawrence Fishburne.
Yeah, like...
Tell that story, or Kevin.
My godfather told about how a woman comes to see him one day and she got a picture of Lawrence Fishburne. She was telling my godfather that he should make him want
and she had a suitcase of money.
She got a suitcase of money, and my godfather was like, yo, I can't do that. Now, he could have took the money and said, well, it's not working and you didn't light the candle right and all that. And he's like, nah, get out of here. Right? But there are people come.
And I can bet that the number one thing they want is money.
Money.
And a man. Or a woman.
And after that, then you start to get into people that are there genuinely. They like, somebody in my house is having an issue. I just felt compelled to come. Things of that nature. But the first two is, I want money and I need her to stay with me.
Right.
Right? Or I'm going to make my baby father pay because he got a new girlfriend, right?
Right.
I don't engage in that.
Okay.
Because I'm not here to just do spells. What I am is an interpreter for the other side.
Okay.
And they see further than we do. So they're gonna give you a foresight about where you're going, what's on the other side of the hill, right? So that you could prepare. My job is to now interpret what they're saying and give you this information. Once it's given to you, you still have choice.
Of course.
Right? We still have choice to do as we please. And so in that, people come and they're looking for money and they're looking for all the things, and a lot of times a lot of emotional baggage is dug up. I had a girl come,
and those could be issues that could be stopping them from actually getting money.
Well, I had a girl come to see me, and the conversation to her was, the good daughter has the blessings of God and her mother, right? This is what I tell the girl in the beginning of the reading, and she's like, it doesn't mean anything to her. When we get to the end, to the meat of the situation, she's in a relationship, and the dude is no good, but her mother's telling her, yo, stop messing with her. But she's not listening to her mother because of her relationship, because her mother didn't have a chance to raise her and raise the other sister, and so she's feeling some kind of way.
Yes.
Diggity daggity do. And so now every time her mother gives her this advice, she throw it in the garbage and she find herself back at square one. And so the beginning of the reading, it says, the good daughter has the blessings of God and her mother. And so we had to come back around to that street for me to show her, like, this is what it's talking about. Like, do you know why your mother gave you up? Because people react off of emotional baggage, right? Something that happened to them when they were 3 or 4 years old, that they didn't have the intelligence and enough information to really form a true opinion.
Absolutely, and they carry that for the rest of their lives.
For the rest of their lives.
Absolutely.
And I don't know this, but the shell say it, and the dead man say it, and the dead man says, you carrying this. So when you hear the song, when Erica's singing Bag Lady, she's telling you about your emotional baggage. You gonna miss your bus. You got too much stuff. You can't hurry up, right?
Absolutely.
These are metaphors that are telling you about how you're living your life. And so again, this tradition makes people have to deal with themselves, right? Have to deal with, what did I do? What did I say to inflict that? The first time I did a bid as a teenager, I did a bid, and that morning that I got locked up, or that the situation happened, I was almost possessed. Oh, I got this razor, somebody gonna get cut. You understand? And that it was consuming me because of the breakdowns that were happening in my real life. My father was sick. My mother was in a new relationship with a fiance. I'm living in the projects. I'm fighting with niggas every other day. I'm weak. And so now them spirits come up and they say, you know what?
Now's the time.
Absolutely. Ain't nobody gonna do nothing to you no more. Let's roll with me. And so people have to understand that this emotional stuff is all linked to spiritual stuff. Okay? It's all linked to spiritual stuff. When young women are violated or deflowered at a very early age, another spirit comes in and takes over. They will not age past the time that they were deflowered. Because that personality has now had to take a step back because of the trauma of the situation, and another personality has to come in and now function to keep this horror from consuming the person. You understand?
Yes.
So they tell you in that you're supposed to be one way, but really we're all multifaceted. You have different personalities and different spirits that address different parts of your life. Right? It's somebody, it might be a family member that could say some foul shit to you, like a grandmother or a mother or an uncle that say some foul shit to you that nobody else could say to you. But because of whatever emotional baggage that comes with that person, right? So now what happens is you have a spirit that comes in and says, all right, Uncle such and such is talking stupid, and I'm going to just let that ride. Because you'll normally want to punch somebody in the face and get yourself off, but he's crazy, and if you punch Uncle Ted in the face, he's going to kill you. Right?
Yeah,
so you got to accept this. And so you might not be able to accept it from somebody else, but that spirit comes in to accept it to that person because they know the implications or the limitations of that person, right? And so we're all multifaceted. You know, these people go and they sit on the couch and they're talking to these people for hours and they don't give them any solutions, right? This tradition offers solutions in the fact that we have a mythology. So when you come to get a reading, the divination is based on a numerical combination that talks about what is, it's really like a readout of your aura, what's happening with you. I'm going to give you a story, and in the story there's going to be different archetypes and characters in it. And I'm going to give you the story and I'm going to show you how the story works. And I'm going to ask you for your opinion on the story. And after you give me your opinion on the story, I'm going to tell you, well, you know, you're really that guy.
That's the character
that you're playing right now.
Right.
Right? This is what the Africans, they didn't need psychology because they had myth.